At Sierra, discover joyous deals on great gifts for everyone on your list. Like cozy slippers, ski gear, fishing poles, bikes, large kayaks, even larger canoes. Whew, which might lead to another discovery. Wrapping gifts is the only sport you need to stay fit this season. 'Tis the season to discover great gifts at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Listening to this podcast? Smart move. Being financially savvy? Smart move. Another smart move? Having State Farm help you create a competitive price when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the personal price plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
Broadcasting intimate details and useless information from an undisclosed location in New York City. The Last Show with David Cooper.
If you post a pic of your new Rolex, do people see you as impressive or insufferable? What about if you post your flight to Paris? Well, they might not hate you as much. Why does showing off about a luxury vacation make you seem warmer than showing off about a luxury watch? Well, that's what somebody studied, and I'm here with him. He's a political science researcher at Aarhus University in Denmark, and his name is Wilson Merrell. Wilson, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
What made you want to investigate about people showing off online? Like, what are people really trying to signal when they post a pic of their flashy stuff?
People throughout history have always found a way to show off their status, buying different sorts of things, spending their money and resources different ways. And I think it's a really interesting question in the 21st century. What does status signaling look like? And obviously, with the advent of social media, status signaling is happening all the time when you're scrolling on Instagram and you're seeing the trips people are going on or the cars that they're purchasing. And so this seemed like an underexplored domain that my PhD advisor and I were interested in looking into.
You can tell the truth here. Were you a little annoyed when a friend of yours was showing off and that annoyance then turned into research?
Well, it was funny because this interest in this started around 2018, and there was a lot of talk about like humble bragging around this time too. Like, oh, you know, my flight to the Maldives got delayed so long. Here's me in the airport. Poor me. And so it's sort of like this humble status signaling stuff is going on all around us. And so taking an academic lens on it, I thought was just this really fun way to bridge like research and personal life stuff.
And so it's interesting to me that you categorize it into two things. One as in luxury goods, the other as in luxury travel. What made you decide to break it down into these two categories?
Yeah, so in the psychology and marketing and consumer behavior literature, experiential goods like vacations versus material goods like cars is like a classic distinction. You may have heard other sorts of findings like if you buy experiences, they make you happier or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so there's this really strong distinction between experience and material goods, but it hasn't been looked at as much in this like luxury status signaling setting. And when you think about going to Paris versus buying a Porsche, those have very different psychological properties. And so it makes a lot of sense that the status you get from it or the warmth you get from it are going to be really different too. So that's kind of what motivated the initial project.
So let's get to the meat of it. What do people think of, I guess let's start with luxury goods. If I show off my new Porsche that I definitely have for sure, parked in my garage that I definitely have, because everyone in New York City has garages, what might people think of me?
The work that we did, so we scraped a ton of different luxury material goods like Porsches and luxury experiential goods like going out to fancy restaurants or going on vacations. We scraped these Instagram pictures and then we showed them to participants. So we said, what do you think of these people? Do you think that they are high status? Do you think you would want to be friends with them? Do you think they would be good at being like a business operations manager? And across the board, people who are showing off things like Porsches, they're seen as really high status. They seem like they would be a good fit for high status jobs, and they feel like they're very prestigious. But people also don't seem to like them very much. So on interpersonal traits like warmth or being part of a community, people are like, oh, the person who shows off a Porsche is maybe not the person I would first approach at a party to be friends with. But we see the exact opposite for experiential goods. So people who are posting about their trips with their family to other countries or about their fancy Michelin-starred meals or something like that, those are high status people who are also seen as warm and welcoming and communal.
This might be an aside that you didn't cover, and you can give an opinion if you didn't cover it, but I have a friend who loves his car. He's always posting pictures of his Audi, and he responds really positively to other people who flash their luxury goods. If I'm someone who likes to show off my Rolex and stuff, will I see other people who show off their fancy goods as warm? Or is it just us normal people who find them more cold?
We didn't look at that specifically. Maybe we can collaborate on a future research project together, but you're getting at something really interesting when you said that your friend really loves his Audi. And so one of the things that we found that kind of shifted how people saw this effect is if people were really passionate or intrinsically motivated by the thing that they posted, whether it was an Audi or a new set of golf clubs because it was super close to their sense of self, then that's the type of thing that can boost your communal perception of that person. And the funny thing is that experiences by default are assumed to be more passionate and intrinsically motivated and close to the sense of self. And so that's really what's driving this warmth communal effect of experiences. So maybe we see your friend more positively because he says, I'm a huge car guy, I know all about cars. It's not just, I want to show off to a romantic partner or a new friend or something like that.
Maybe you find him more warm. I find him annoying, but whatever, not important. Now, what were some of the details of the experiment that you ran? Was it just showing people photographs? Was there anything else?
We did show people photographs. So this was kind of like we wanted it to be as close to possible to the things that people showed off in the real world. So we showed them pictures of things we scraped on Instagram. We also created kind of fake social media profiles so people could scroll through more similar to how you might actually experience these social media posts. And then the kind of classic way that people showed off purchases in the past would be you talk about them. So we had some studies where people were reading about discussions others were having about the types of things that they would maybe show off or talk about at like a dinner party or on a college campus or during orientation or something like that. So we tried to kind of get at this through a few different ways that people really show off their purchases online and in person. And we're seeing this kind of converging set of evidence, which is kind of nice across the studies.
Cool. So we spoke a little bit about luxury goods and why people perceive you that way, what to do to maybe make you seem warmer if you're genuinely passionate about the goods.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You said that when people are traveling, people assume that those folks are passionate about travel, and that might be a reason why they're perceived as warmer. Are there any other reasons why, if I show off details of my travels, people might think I'm warmer and better at my job and things like this?
Yeah. So in addition to this intrinsic motivation, people also assume that experiences are more social. So it's generally more the norm that people are going to go on vacations with others. So maybe they're a family person or they're really oriented closely with their friends or something like that. And so there's a social aspect that is kind of assumed with these experiential purchases that we're showing off. And even more interestingly, in our last study, we show that when these assumptions are violated, so when we tell people about someone who maybe took a vacation by themselves and just because they wanted to kind of get clout on TikTok or something like that, that person is not seen as warmer. So it's really, you need to have these two conditions satisfied of intrinsic motives, passion motives, and doing it with other people, being around and involved with others when you make and show off these purchases.
What a reason to travel. Like, you don't find it fun. You're just going to take photos and videos for your social media. Whoever that person is, whoever that archetype is, I think they're annoying. Are there people who want to signal low warmth? You know, are there certain groups of people that might want to signal to us that they're cold and that they're trying to show off in this material way?
Yeah, definitely. I think one takeaway from our results is like, material conspicuous consumption or this luxury material good showing off is always bad. And that's certainly not the case. So you could imagine leadership positions where someone who wants to be perceived as like a dominant leader wants to be someone who's very competent, very high status, but they don't necessarily want to be seen as someone who's always going to kind of try and make friends with other people. They want to be seen as this dominant, more impressive person. And so signaling material goods, luxury material goods, can be a totally effective signaling strategy when the time and when the position calls for it.
It's my understanding your samples were US-based?
Yes, all US-based. We have some online adult samples and then some college student samples as well.
Do you think if you sampled other cultures in the world and how they looked at whether people were showing off about luxury goods or luxury travel, that they would think differently of them? Or do you think this is sort of universal?
No, I think it'll be totally different. I've been living in Denmark for the last 2 years, and I think the way people respond to luxury status signaling could be totally different here, so possible for replication. One thing we talk a little bit about is that a primary way that people show off their vacations is through social media. And so you could imagine that in countries where social media hasn't permeated kind of the cultural sphere, the cultural schema, as much as it has in the US and a lot of the Western world, you can imagine that experiences just don't act as status signals. And so you really have to rely on material goods more if you want to be showing the status, just because it's less visible to see the experiences if you're not on social media as much.
Wilson, I've really enjoyed you sharing your research on the show. It's been really interesting. Thanks for doing this interview.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Wilson Merrell is a political science researcher at Aarhus University in Denmark.
Doug. Here we have the Limu Emu in its natural habitat, helping people customize their car insurance and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual. Fascinating. It's accompanied by his natural ally, Doug.
Limu, is that guy with the binoculars watching us?
Cut the camera. They see us.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Savings vary. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.